City Council. And for some reason, when I give speeches, it makes it a lot easier when I hold a baby. Because even if I screw up my speech, at least anyone's just looking at the baby anyway. Anyways, so I moved to Flagstaff when I was 12 years old. A few months I'm in here, I met my lovely wife, Amethyst, who is a pediatric intensive care nurse and takes care of our sick and ill children, injured children here in Flagstaff. So I've been involved in politics for as long as I can remember. When I was 9 years old was when I first marched on Washington to fight for children's rights. At 16, I started campaigning and worked in every single election cycle since. Whether it's getting out the vote, working hard for our elected officials that have our values in mind, and but after spending a little time in Afghanistan, I realized I needed to do more and use my skills to create good governance. So I became a policy analyst and worked real hard to try to create the greater good for the greatest number of people. But it became clear that the indirect influence trying to affect policy from the outside wasn't enough. I needed a seat at the table to be helping to make these decisions on the ground. Now, we got a lot of great candidates running for City Council this year. I'm very excited for our next council. And the one thing that I can help offer is there's a little difference between having the right values and also applying those values to the laws, the codes, and everything else that we're facing. And as a policy analyst, somebody who digs into the details, wants to look at the nitty-gritty of the laws, I think I can help with the next council with the skill set to really apply that to the laws and codes that we're facing. I had a hard time trying to figure out how to explain what I do for a living, because policy analyst, economist, data scientist, statistician, but basically the premise of my work is somebody comes to me and says, Paul, this is our policy goal. What's the best way to get there? And I run the numbers. I look into the details. I find the evidence so we can achieve our policy goals the most efficient way possible. I will note just, I have one and only thing to thank Governor Ducey for, and that's because he gave me my job. Because when he cut $15 million from our university, they had to have someone there to figure out how to do more with less. So they hired me to try to figure out how to achieve our goals and try to make sure that we have a high level of standards for student success, that we take care of our students, and that's what I like to do. Is to try to do more with less and really help people out. So I'm asking for your vote this year of the 3 spots for City Council, because I'm the one candidate who lived here as a kid, and I know our values. I know the character of Flagstaff, and I want to preserve it for my children and others' children. Secondly, because I'm qualified to govern. As JFK once said, I am an idealist without illusion. And third, I'm going to be real with you. I'm not going to sell you pies in the sky to get elected. I like the evidence, I like the information, and I like providing that to people. So I aim for transparency and really serving the people as best I can.
Yeah!
Thank you, Shannon. No, so Craig, share your Jensita may basically the Janet Hanesan and Schneidel and the chain, the chain, for the chain, the chain, Sandra Kinay. Good morning, good afternoon. I am Jamesita Peshalkai, State Senator for Legislative District Number 7. I am Navajo, Diné. My clans are Tango People Clan, born for Red House Clan. Maternal grandfathers are Bitterwater Clan, and maternal grandfathers are Cliff Dweller Clan. And I was born and raised here. My family roots come from the very earth of northern Arizona. I want to introduce my mother, May Peshalkai. So, I want to say thank you to all the people that put on this event, the Coconino County Democrats, the staff, And I want to say thank you to all the candidates that are here, as well as the officials. And it's nice to be back here in Flagstaff area, because I was born and raised here in Flagstaff as well. I went to school at Whitesell Elementary School and Christensen Elementary School, and I graduated from NAU with a Bachelor's in Science in History and Philosophy and Educational Psychology as my master's degree. So, and my daughter just graduated from NAU in December, so I'm actually really home when I come home over here. And right now I live in District in Apache County. So let me tell you a little bit more about District 7. It is the largest legislative district in the country. It goes from the Havasupai Skywalk, includes all the Grand Canyon, goes up to Fredonia, goes to the Four Corners, goes south of Globe, just north of Tucson. And that is my district. And I am so envious of legislators that say, oh, I canvass my whole entire district, and it's like 1 or 2 city blocks, and I can't do that. People say, do you canvass your district? I said, no. I said, but the houses are miles and miles and miles in between, and there's all kinds of wild animals in there as well. So I was born and raised here. My mom and dad were silversmiths, and I grew up as one of the children dancing along the Grand Canyon, entertaining tourists. So I know how important the tourism industry is for us. And I was elected to the 51st legislature when we passed the Affordable Care Act. And then in the 53rd legislature, I was the first Native American woman senator in the state of Arizona. And it only took 106 years. And I say that because we are moving forward, you know. No matter how horrible things seem after November 9th, 2016, there's still hope. And all of you here are part of that. And all of you here are family as far as being Democrats. When we say, people ask me, what's your platform? And I don't have a platform. A platform is something built and that can be demolished. For me, and I always tell the Democrats this, it is fundamentally our convictions, the philosophy that we live our lives by. That is who we are, and that's what we're fighting for. So that's the whole thing. And I'm the representative for Legislative District number 7, and you all, most of you live in District number 6. But your lives are inextricably linked to ours. Each and every one of you have friends and family in District 7. What happens in District 7 affects you. I have border towns in my district. I have 8 tribes, 22 tribes in Arizona in my district. And every single tribal member in District 7, their lives affect the world. We're all living together. We're all in this together. So I want to thank the 2 candidates that are running for House. Mr. Orlando Teller, who is the brave soul that has stepped up. This is his 2nd time, and we couldn't have found a better person more qualified to sit in committee and fight for transportation and infrastructure. And a gentleman that's not here, but from the same hometown as Orlando, is Mr. Myron Sosi, and Myron's background is education. And so when we send these 2 gentlemen, the Democrats, to the House and me to the Senate, we will have a team there that can work for everybody. And it is so important. It is so important. And I know I'm preaching to the choir. I was in Sholo last night at Rock the Vote Festival, and I got kind of sick. So I called my mom and I said, Mom, you're going to have to go and campaign for me. And so this morning I woke up and I felt better, you know, still a little sweaty, and I called her. I said, Mom, I'm going to make it. I'm going to go. And she says, okay, because my campaign speech was, we're all going to go to the White House and drag that man kicking and screaming out of that house. So you know that's where our roots come from. And I just want to also introduce my aunt Arlita Yazi. My family is part of the family that was relocated out of the joint use area in near Loop, and we know what it's like to be a refugee in our own country, and what it's like to be a third-class citizen. And we don't need a future going back to the 1940s and 50s. We need to keep moving forward. And if my voice here is heard, then we need to move this forward, and it's up to each and every one of you to keep this going. And sometimes I look at my campaign and look at my district, and I think, what can inspire people to vote? I just come to the point where apathy and the way society has come to our tribal nations, and I think right now is the opportune time for us to find our voice together. And if President Trump didn't do anything good, the only thing that might come out of this is that we're united in defining who we are and what we want. So I want to thank you all.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Orlando Teller. So I'm going to show my hands. This is me, and my mother's clan is Zuni people adopted into the Red Streak Forehead clan. My fathers are the Water Flow Together clan. My mother's grandfather are the Bitterwater clan, and my father's grandfather are the Saw clan. So that makes that makes who standing here before you. So I usually teach my sister's kids and my grandsons, the hand represents a lot of things, but it also points back to you. So as a person running for this opportunity, as Jamesita mentioned, this is my second try. And I'm really humbled with this opportunity to represent Legislative District 7, if not the state. And for us, all of us here, we need to really make a charge effort and sharing with our friends and family that progress is in the air. There's something in the air. It's not winter, it's not fall. There's going to be a change in the state, and I want to be part of that change. I want to be part of that change where our efforts, our voices, and our intent, the spirit and intent of us as family people, as rural Arizonans, because a lot of the service are still stuck in Metro Phoenix. And I will say this, and I've always said this, even as the board member on the State Transportation Board, the state of Arizona is not Maricopa County. We have to bring those services up here to rural Arizona, be it roads, be it economic security, DES. And why am I saying that? Because we understand that DES in Shinli is going to be closed. So what does that do for our constituents? Moms have to drive an extra hour and a half just to get services. And these people don't have the means for that. What are we doing to our own Arizonans? I don't stand for that. So my voice is to be your voice. Amplify what is being said at a local level so that we can make some change at the state level. As Jamesita mentioned, my expertise and my experience has been transportation. I graduated from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University as the first Native American to graduate from that university. And then I went down to Falcon Field Airport, and I worked there for a few years, and I moved over to Sky Harbor International Airport, working directly with David Kreider, who was then the airport director. So I was under his wing for 7 years. So sitting as a young Navajo kid, young man, sitting at a table with all these executives, And actually seeing that drawing on the napkin of that parking lot, I saw that 20 years ago. It's happening now. And so the mentorship and the effort from these wonderful people that brought me into their circle has taught me, and I've learned from that experience. So then I went to Caltrans, and I was at the Department of Transportation for California, working under Arnold Schwarzenegger as his tribal liaison, making sure that the tribes in California knew that the services of transportation was available to them. So that's what I did before I moved back home. And when I came home, and all you mothers, I love all you mothers, because my mother, just like Mama May here, which I call her Mama May, they have a voice. So my mom said, son, you've been living off the reservation for too long, I'm going to bring you back. And she brought me back. It was a phone call, 10 o'clock in the morning. I was at work. She said, come pick me up. What? And I said, where are you at? She said, I'm over here at Oakland Airport, hurry up. So, you know, you strike the fear into your children, so I'm running around with my head cut. I get to the airport, she's with a purse and a handbag. I'm like, what are you doing? Hurry up and pick me up, I'm cold. I'm like, oh God, woman, you know. So we're driving and I'm just dumbfounded. I'm like, you never told me, you never told me anything that you were gonna be here. So she said, take me to your boss. I said, okay. So we went to Caltrans, 15th floor. She went to see my boss and held hands for a good 30 seconds. And then my boss looked at me and she said, I accept your resignation. That was it. So 10 o'clock, 10:30, I had all my friends gather at my apartment. We cleaned out my apartment and I was on the road back to the reservation by 6 o'clock in the evening. I didn't say nothing. I didn't say anything. We got to Barstow and I finally broke. I said, why? What's going on in that head of yours? And she said, son, all these years, 26 years, you've been living off the reservation, learning from these mentors that you've developed relationships with. They taught you things, they've educated you on things. You bring that basket, you pour it back down. You stand on it and you teach the people what you've learned. So that's why I'm crazy grandmother. So with that, I've utilized the experiences and education from being off the reservation and applying them here to our people, with our people, for our people. And so the reason why I ran 4 years ago is, number one, I didn't know what I was getting involved in. It's true. But what I've learned from James Sita and Jack Jackson Jr. and Albert Hale is you don't give in to opposition. I've seen these three stand against the Republican in a hearing testimony. Remember that? She was dressed up very traditional. So was Jack and Albert Hale. And the Republicans were just beating down on Navajo. And they stood up. And in unison, they stepped forward. Let me tell you that. The goose pimples on my arms and my back, that's what I wanted. I said, I want to speak for the people. Seeing that just invigorated me to step up and do this. So I appreciate your opportunity. And again, mention to your family, friends, vote for Dems. We're here. We're not going anywhere. We're going to continue fighting the fight, vocalizing what we need to do. Thank you very much.